What would happen if I tried to beat a hardcore Nuzlocke using only Pokemon caught in Pokemon Go? My buddy Whacko spent the day racing through the neighborhoods of Boston playing Pokemon Go as he went along. Using special and proprietary technology, these Pokemon were then sent to me, Flygon HG, playing a randomized version of Pokémon FireRed. It was my job and my job alone to lead our team to victory by becoming champions of the Indigo League. That's easier said than done though, because in a Nuzlocke, if a Pokemon faints, it's dead forever. Plus, Whacko was only able to catch one Pokemon per neighborhood in Boston, and thanks to his short little baby legs, Whacko wasn't able to get to every single neighborhood before the sun went down. And we weren't about to risk Whacko being out in Boston after sundown, because that's when
he comes out.
The rest of the rules for this playthrough are shown here and in the description down below. But with that, it's time to pack your car at Harvard Yard, grab some Dunkin', and settle in for the world's first Boston-based Pokemon Go hardcore Nuzlocke. Our playthrough begins with me in Pallet Town and Whacko in the heart of Beantown, the Boston Commons. It doesn't matter which starter I choose because through the power of science and magic, it'll just be randomly transformed into whatever Pokemon Whacko first encounters on his journey. Whacko, stop filming pigeons, Whacko. You're supposed to be catching me a Pokemon. After several more minutes of this amateur nature documentary, the young David Attenborough finds the starter of our randomized Nuzlocke, a Diglett. I think I'd rather have a pigeon. I name our little turd nugget Brady, because if I've learned one thing from living in this city for a decade, it's that Bostonians can absolutely handle a playful jab at Tom Brady. With Tommy on the team, we can make our way towards Pewter City and the first gym leader. At the same time, Whacko was vigorously waddling his baby legs to Park Square and the Pubic Gardens, where he caught two more encounters. The first is a Wailmer named Uma, and the second is a Chinchou named Affleck. Heading into the first gym battle, our team is looking pretty grass weak, so all I can do is hope that Brock's Pokemon haven't been randomized into grass types. Not great given that Brock is canonically short for broccoli, but fortunately Lady Luck is on our side as he sends out a Mudkip. Sadly, Affleck doesn't have an electric type move yet, but Uma should be able to handle this little son of a gun with Rollout. Even after missing several times, she does successfully take out Mudkip with 13 HP to spare. That leaves Brock with his Ace Quilava, a definite step up from his usual Onix. With Uma already so low on HP, I leave it to Affleck to come in and finish up the battle with a handful of 20 base power bubbles. That right there is the very first gym badge of our randomized Pokemon Go Nuzlocke obtained. But it was a small miracle that Brock didn't have a grass type and that luck won't last forever. In fact, it isn't too long until our team has to face their hardest challenge yet. Oh, no! Oh god, it knows growth! Okay, it's fine, it's fine. We'll kill it in 2 shots with Scratch, right? Ha! Idiot! After that close encounter with the very face of death itself, Whacko comes in with his latest delivery of kidnapped Bostonians. From Bay Village, he catches a Larvitar who I named Dickinson. Not exactly doing us any favors in terms of our grass-type weakness, but if I can keep Emily here alive until the Elite Four, we'll have a freaking Tyranitar. So nice job, Whacko. He also catches a dramaturgically inclined Squirtle from the Theata district named Coolidge. My favorite thing about randomizers is getting the opportunity to use unique Pokemon that you don't get to normally play with in the vanilla games, so this is just awesome. Arguably even weaker to grass types than we were before, our Fivesome heads into the battle against the second gym leader Misty. She leads with Rhyhorn, which was very much the wrong choice against my lead of Coolidge, who has evolved into War Turtle and is easily able to snipe down the clunky Ungulate with a quad-effective water gun. This leaves Misty with her Raichu, and all I can say is thank goodness we have 3 electric immunities, because otherwise this electric rat would rip through my team of pipsqueaks like 2.3 million gallons of molasses ripped through the North End in 1919. Brady comes in safely on a Tail Whip. He gets met with another Tail Whip on the following turn as he goes for a dig. As we surface, Raichu survives with just a sliver. Her static ability also activates, paralyzing Brady. So I bring in Dickinson as Misty heals with a super potion. Unfortunately, Emily's only attacking move is the Dark-type Bite, which is a special move prior to Generation 3, so it doesn't do too much damage. It does, however, still make contact, so it of course immediately procs static again. 30% chance my ass. I switch out to Brady to reset the Tail Whip defense drops, only for the world's worst Pokemon and quarterback to take over 50% from a quick attack. Like, I know Diglett is frail, but that is a depressing amount of damage from a Raichu's quick attack. Anyway, since Affleck has Volt Absorb and Dickinson both resists quick attack and is immune to Thunderbolt, it's trivial, albeit tedious, to whittle away at Raichu and eventually get us the sweet, sweet taste of victory. But victory isn't the only thing that tastes sweet thanks to the sponsor of this video, Factor. Factor is a subscription-based meal plan that delivers fresh, ready-made meals straight to your doorstep. Imagine this completely hypothetical situation. You've just spent 9 hours playing a needlessly hard version of a children's video game. You've got a corgi puppy eagerly waiting for her evening walkies, and the latest episodes of prestige television to catch up on. In the waning minutes of daylight, the last thing you want to do is spend time making dinner. And with Factor's no prep, no mess meals, you don't have to. Each Factor meal is freshly prepared by actual chefs, and after just 2 minutes in the microwave, it's like the food came fresh out of the kitchen of a restaurant. I don't know how they do it, but every single meal I tried was genuinely delicious. Like, the food was just so good. No longer do you need to compromise on quality food for the convenience of frozen meals or takeout. And with meal plans ranging from 4 to 18 meals per week, with a rotating weekly menu of over 30 options, including meals that match any dietary lifestyle like keto, vegetarian, or vegan, there's a Factor meal plan for everyone. So if you're looking for a convenient, flexible, and hassle-free ready-made meal plan, be sure to use my link or go to go.factor75.com and use the code POGFlyGoneMay40 for 40% off your first month of Factor and 20% off your next month. Once you click, my description will live update to count up the purchases. Thanks so much to Factor for sponsoring this video. Now, let's get back to the challenge. After sharing the good news of our triumphant win with Whacko, he airdrops 2 more orphans onto the team. The first is a Ponyta from Chinatown named Smart. So that's finally a grass-type counter, but Ponyta is unfortunately hot garbage, and not just because he's on fire. But Whacko's second victim is a Natu abducted from the Leather District, and this is actually a pretty solid encounter. Psychic types are really good in earlier generations before the physical special split and the introduction of halfway decent bug and dark type moves. Is it probably the worst psychic type that we could have gotten? Yes, but I'm still more than happy to welcome Katya to the team. Aboard the SS Anne, Dickinson rock slides her way through rival Yankee's entire team. I relieve the captain of his pains with the healing powers of my firm but gentle hands, and then we're off to the Vermilion City Gym for some old-fashioned dumpster diving. The joys of modern gaming are truly unparalleled. After deactivating the electric barriers, we face off against Lieutenant Surge. He leads with a Goldeen, so I have Coolidge punch him in the face. It does shockingly little damage before the fish confuses Coolidge with a Supersonic. So it's off to Katya, who takes care of Goldeen with a few Nightshades. But not before Lieutenant Surge heals with a Super Potion, so Goldeen does get off a little bit more damage before going down. That brings in Lieutenant Surge's Exploud next, which is pretty scary. Pokemon have been randomized according to power level, so apparently Raichu and Exploud have relatively similar power levels. Even with only 50 base power, Stab Uproar is gonna hurt coming from a fully evolved Pokemon. Fortunately, I had the foresight to teach Dickinson Brick Break for moments exactly like this. She resists Uproar and is able to take out Exploud with 2 Brick Breaks before things get too out of control. So Surge is just left with his Execute, which means it's time for our resident grass counter to come in and get put to sleep by a hypnosis. Well, after a few turns, Smart wakes up and kills Execute with 2 Embers, winning us the 3rd gym badge and keeping our run completely deathless. Which means it's time for another scheduled delivery from Whacko. The first is a Mawile named Betsy from Downtown Crossing, though since she doesn't have the ability Intimidate, she'll be spending her days sitting in the box. However, from the downtown waterfront, Whacko finds the most important teammate so far, a cast form named Damon. I can't pretend that Damon is a great, or even good Pokemon, and I'd be lying if I said he was a powerhouse on the field, but with his adorable little smile, he was a much-needed calming presence for the entire team. In a world filled with randomized threats at every turn, seeing this little ball of goodness just vibing really went a long way. He became a team mascot of sorts, a symbol of the camaraderie forged throughout this run. Our team was like a found family, brought together by Whacko's ethically questionable pillaging of Boston's most iconic neighborhoods. But no matter where we came from, or how traumatic it was to be smacked in the face by a Pokeball and ripped away from our home, we loved each other, and we loved Damon like a sweet little baby brother. Which is pretty funny given that Boston is known as the city of brotherly love. Anyways, with the new level cap, Katya can finally evolve into Xatu, and she's about to start packing some heat because once I get to Celadon City, I can give the guards around Saffron City some spiked tea, which kills them instantly. This lets me freely walk into Saffron City and pick up the Psychic TM from Mr. Psychic. Game Freak really poured their creative souls into naming that guy, huh? With Katya's newfound psychic powers, she's able to sweep Erica's entire team. It's a total wash, which is why I'm a little ashamed to admit that I decided to box Damon. Right now, he's sharing a team slot with Brady, who's recently evolved into Dugtrio. But the great thing about Damon is that even when he's not in the party, he's still supporting the team with his evergreen optimism. Ask anyone on the team and they'll all say that Damon is the MVP. He'll get his chance to shine soon enough. At this point, Whacko's travels have taken him to Boston's historic downtown district, truly one of the most incredible parts of the city. In just these few blocks, you can witness the entire history of America. It's where the Pilgrims first landed in the New World in 1943. It's where the Declaration of Independence was signed, formally announcing our divorce from Lady Britain. It's where our ancestors bravely poured an estimated 15 million pounds of tea into the harbor because they were just so sick of drinking unflavored ocean water. And it's where we watched a rat walk across a windowsill at the end of The Departed, resulting in the most ham-fisted visual metaphor ever put on screen. History truly comes alive when walking through the streets of Boston, Massachusetts. Paid for by the Massachusetts Board of Tourism. Our encounter from the historic downtown district is an Aeron named Burr. And before any of you Hamilton fans get too excited, Burr is a reference to the famous Star Wars actor Bill Burr, who's from Boston, not Aaron Burr, who was tragically born in New Jersey. For this challenge, I actually picked the names of the Pokemon when I caught them in-game, before I even knew what Pokemon they'd magically and legally be turned into. So the fact that Burr became an Aeron is an incredibly bizarre coincidence. Either way, Burr is headed to the box. Whacko's other encounter from the north end is a quillfish named Polar. Like Betsy before, Polar does not have Intimidate, so we're really in a drought of good encounters here. Fortunately, my earlier encounters are picking up the slack as we plow through the various rocket and rival fights before the next gym leader. By the time we've made it to the rival fight in Silifco, everyone in the current roster has fully evolved, with the exception of Dickinson, who will remain in her pupil state for several more level caps. In vanilla playthroughs of FireRed and Leaf Green, this is usually the hardest rival fight in the game, but with a randomizer, it's a total toss-up. My rival Yankee leads with a Girafaridge, and I lead with Katya. I decide to switch her out into Coolidge as Girafaridge sets up with an Agility. This agility proves to be Coolidge's downfall as Yankee proceeds to flinch him with Stomp 2 turns in a row. Sorry, did I say 2 turns in a row? I meant 3 turns in a row, including a critical hit on the 3rd Stomp. That renders Coolidge essentially useless for the rest of the fight, which will be important later. For now, I just switch in Dickinson, who is able to take out Girafaridge with 2 Rock Slides. I can't believe I've never noticed this before, but did you know that Girafaridge spelled backwards is asshole? Anyways, Dickinson is a little bit above 50% as Yankee brings in Piloswine, so I switch out to Affleck on a Powder Snow. He then drowns the pig with a Surf, bringing in Gengar 3rd. Since he's stuck with his level up moveset, we can just take him out with 2 Surfs, though Affleck does have to tank a Nightshade and a Shadow Punch, such that he's at about 50% when our ghostly foe falls. 4th for Yankee is Blissey, so it's off to Smart the Rapidash as he sets up with a Minimize. It takes a few turns, but Smart is eventually able to land a Stomp. Fun fact, Stomp does double damage to a Pokemon after it uses Minimize, so we get the clean one-hit knockout. But that leaves Yankee with his final Pokemon, Charizard. Due to an oversight when choosing the randomizer settings, Yankee's starter never actually randomized. So this Charizard is exactly the same as the Charizard that my rival would have in a normal version of the game, which makes this next part all the more embarrassing. Based on my previous battles with Yankee, I should have been anticipating this fire-breathing lizard, but after wasting Coolidge and Dickinson on the Serene Grace Girafaridge and Affleck on the Gengar, I have virtually no answer into this thing. Katya and Brady are both at full HP, but neither of them can safely come in on a flamethrower, so my only real hope is Smart, who does aggressively mediocre damage with Stomp. After getting hit with a Scary Face, I switch to Affleck, hoping for a free switch. It's granted as Charizard goes for a smokescreen, so on the next turn he hits Affleck with a hard flamethrower, but then we miss a Surf. That's really bad. I decide to switch back to Smart, who frustratingly has Runaway instead of Flash Fire, so Flamethrower still does solid damage on the switch. Then I go for a Stomp, which flinches. Some people say Karma is the breeze in your hair on the weekend, but for me, it's this. Sadly, me and Karma don't vibe as much as I thought because our flinch count stops at 1 and Charizard gets off another Scary Face. And with our speed dropped, he's free to hit a massive blaze boosted flamethrower before a 4th stomp brings him into the red. And that means that we're at the end of the line. None of my Pokemon are able to tank a blaze boosted flamethrower, and only a handful of them are outspeeding Charizard anyways. Someone's gotta take the fall, and frankly, the answer is pretty clear. Tom Brady has been coasting by on his starter status for a while now, but staring down the barrel of a blaze-boosted Charizard is not the time to be sentimental. So, with a heavy heart, I watch as Brady gets burned to a crisp, marking the very first death of the run. His sacrifice lets Katya come in safely, and by outspeeding Charizard, she's able to finish the battle before we lose any more teammates. The small silver lining in the dark cloud of this tragedy is that Damon can get a permanent slot on the team. Sure, he still won't exactly be contributing to battles, but his presence is more than enough to keep our spirits high as our journey continues. With our morale replenished by Damon, we're free to easily sweep through Giovanni. Definitely no issues there, and everything went according to plan. Which gets us to the fight against Koga for badge number 5. He leads with an Exploud and I lead with Coolidge. A Surf does massive damage as Exploud just sets up with a Howl, so one more Surf and whatever Exploud is supposed to be goes down. Next is Magneton, who gets taken out by a few Brick Breaks from Dickinson. Third is Skarmory, who is completely trivialized by Affleck with a few Sparks. And then last is Koga's Snorlax. He's pretty bulky, but ultimately not much of a threat to Dickinson with Brick Break. Just like that, the 5th gym badge is ours. The level cap for the next gym leader remains the same, but we do have 2 more encounters courtesy of Whacko. From the west end, we get a Shelder named Davis, and from Beacon Hill, we get a Loudred named Betty. Both are benchwarmers. Whatever Sabrina has is going to be facing off against the usual suspects. She leads with a Magmar, so my reliable lead of Coolidge ends up being especially reliable as a Surf gets a clean KO. Second is Raichu, but unlike against Misty's Raichu, we're a bit better prepared to handle this one. Dickinson gets the KO with a few Rock Slides while only having to tank a soft Quick Attack. Third is Cradily, whose Rock Grass typing actually hits my entire team, except for Damon, for super effective damage. Fortunately, this is Gen 3, so Cradily does not know a Grass type move by level up, and Dickinson is able to get the KO with 2 Brick Breaks. That just leaves Houndoom. After tanking a bite, Dickinson gets a clean KO with a Rock Slide, winning us badge number 6 in decisive fashion. From here, it's a very quick turnover to the last 2 gyms, but as Whacko comes in with his next delivery, it's time to bid farewell to one of our beloved team members. A Houndour from Back Bay named EA Poe replaces Smart the Rapidash. Poe's dark typing and higher special attack stat makes him the far better choice going into the late game. It's as simple as that. The Mareep that Whacko sheep-napped from Fenway becomes another bench warmer, so with that, it's Blaine time. He leads with Meganium, making my random lead of Katya seem pretty big-brained. Since Meganium sets up a light screen after I use Psychic, on the next turn I have Katya go for a Fly. Meganium uses the turn to get back to full HP as we proceed to miss our 95% accurate attack. You gotta do better than that, Katya. Meganium then hits us with a Body Slam that obviously paralyzes, but at the very least Synchronize causes Meganium to get paralyzed as well. so I go for another fly. This time it connects for great damage as Meganium hits another body slam. This causes a heal on the following turn as a Nightshade does just a little bit of damage. Then Blaine goes for the rare AI switch, bringing in Houndoom as Katya goes for a fly. She connects on the next turn for about 50%, but now we gotta switch out. I bring in Coolidge on a bite, and then a Surf gets the first KO of the match. That brings in the world's most obnoxious Meganium, so I switch back to Katya as he goes for Synthesis. Looks like we're back to square one. But I can just use Wish to keep Katya healthy and eventually KO Meganium with a critical hit fly a few turns later. That brings in Dustock's third. Gotta love randomizers. After taking a limp Silverwind, a Psychic gets a clean one-shot, so last is Rapidash, who falls to a single critical hit Psychic from Katya. Looks like she really took that criticism at the start of the battle to heart. I don't think she got fully paralyzed even a single time. Overall, that was a great performance. For the 8th and final gym badge, it's another fight against Giovanni. He leads with an Arcanine, and since I'm back to leading with Coolidge, a single Surf gives me another early Oh wow, he actually survived that? That's pretty impressive. Well, since Giovanni heals on the next turn, I can set up a Rain Dance for free, meaning that my next Surf is enough for a one-shot. Second is Nidoking, funny enough, but based on the level, it looks like this was originally his Doug trio. Either way, he goes down to another Surf. Third is Machamp, who also falls to a few Surfs on the last few turns of Rain Dance. Fourth is Exeggutor, which means that 3 of Giovanni's 4 Pokemon so far are the exact same as Blue's team when he becomes the Viridian City gym leader. Coincidence? Yes. I switch to Poe, who's able to KO Exeggutor with a single bite. That leaves Giovanni with his 5th and final Pokemon, second Exeggutor. Well, this one's at level 50, so he barely survives a bite and puts Poe to sleep with a Hypnosis. Fortunately, my Hellhound has the ability Early Bird, so presumably he should wake up sooner rather than later. But a massive Egg Bomb on his first turn of sleep does over 50%, so I decide to just switch out to Dickinson. On the next turn, a Crunch takes out Exeggutor number 2, and badge number 8 is ours. With that, we've made it to the Indigo Plateau, but everything up until this point has just been a warm-up. This right here is the real challenge of the run. 5 trainers, 26 Pokemon, all completely random. The Elite Four is almost always the hardest part of any randomizer, but we're ready. Dickinson has finally evolved into Tyranitar, and the rest of my team is as strong as ever. We even have Sweet Damon for moral support. I gotta hand it to Whacko, he did a great job building out this team. He spent the entire day scouring the city to deliver Boston's finest. His job is done. Now, it's up to me to take us to the finish line. Let's do this. First up is Lorelei, usually an Ice-type specialist, but this time she leads with a Hitmonchan. Easy pickings for Katya the Xatu. A single Psychic gets the one-shot. Steelix comes in second, so it's off to Coolidge on an Iron Tail. Then he does what he does best. He uses Surf for an easy one-shot. Third is Swampert, so it's back to Katya. I taught her Giga Drain, which she uses to almost get the one-shot on Swampert. This puts him in Torrent range though, meaning that a Muddy Water does massive damage and also lowers our accuracy. Lorelei heals with a full restore, and fortunately a second Giga Drain also connects, bringing Swampert back down into the red. So then we just finish him off with an Aerial Ace that never misses. Weezing comes in fourth, so I switch to Dickinson. A few crunches as Weezing just spams Smokescreen gets us the knockout, meaning that Lorelei is left with her Nidoking. Not wanting to take a quad-effective double kick to the tummy, I switch Dickinson out into Coolidge, though it's actually a Mega Horn that comes out instead. That would have been even worse. With one last Surf, Lorelei's final Pokemon falls, and the battle against the first member of the Elite Four is won. Next up is Bruno. He leads with Plusle as I once again lead with Katya, but this is a really easy switch into Affleck on a Thunder. Then 2 Surfs take out the little rodent, who almost certainly has no way to hit our Pudgy Fish for damage. Bruno brings in Camerupt second, so that's a pretty easy freebie with Surf. Third is Ninjask, who just outspeeds to hit a Slash before falling to a single Thunderbolt. Corsola is fourth, meaning we get another clean one-shot with another Thunderbolt. And last is the second Steelix of the Elite Four, which once again falls to a single Surf, deftly completing Affleck's effective solo sweep of Bruno. Poor Bruno. Third is Agatha, who leads with Hariyama. When is this randomizer gonna learn that leading with a fighting type is not the play? Katya obviously gets the clean kill with a Psychic. Okay, so actually Katya intentionally doesn't get the KO here, knowing that we can get Agatha to waste her first full restore. Smart. And Hariyama falls a few turns later anyways. Octillery comes in second, so it's off to the Bruno Slayer. After coming in on a Focus Energy, we outspeed, and a Thunderbolt is enough for a clean one-shot. Furret is third, but her moveset of Follow Me, Rest, Slam, and Helping Hand leaves a little bit to be desired. Affleck drowns his fellow Jotonian with a few Surfs, leaving Agatha with just 2 Pokemon left. The first one is Togetic. A Thunderbolt leaves him with a Sliver, but then the poor bastard just misses a Double Edge. Hustle Togetic is truly one of the Pokemon of all time. Agatha heals, but Togetic obviously falls to 2 more Thunderbolts, so last is Gardevoir, who can't touch Poe with her Psychic-type moves. 2 crunches, and victory is ours. Fourth is Lance, and with his powerful dragons, there's a good chance that his Pokemon will be randomized into legendaries, so my team's gotta be well prepared. His lead, however, just ends up being a Weezing. So Katya nails him with a Psychic, though it's frustratingly just shy of the KO, meaning that he can fire off a Smokescreen. Lance heals on the next turn, as we fortunately connect with another Psychic, and this time it's a high roll and we get the one-shot. Second for Lance is an Articuno, though in the grand scheme of legendaries, this is possibly the easiest one to deal with. I switch to Poe on an Ice Beam, and then we roast the chicken with a Flamethrower. They're bulky enough to tank one, letting them gain the speed advantage with an Agility. But Lance just uses Mind Reader on the following turn, so one more Flamethrower takes out his ace. That brings in Piloswine third, who gets roasted by yet another Flamethrower. Fourth is Lunatone, and since I don't anticipate getting a one-shot here, I just switch to Dickinson. They set up a Cosmic Power, but even with the boost to their defenses, Crunch is enough for a 2-shot. So Lance's final Pokemon is Swalot. Surprisingly, he's bulky enough to tank a massive Earthquake, but all he does is use Stockpile. So after some healing, Swalot goes down, netting us a very anticlimactic victory over the final member of the Elite Four. There's still one final fight left though, and it's against the one person who's been able to kill one of my teammates. Yankee will still have his Charizard, and he'll be as scary as ever. But before that, we need to pay our respects to someone important. He has been patiently waiting, supporting the team from the sidelines, providing words of encouragement, a cheerful optimism, and a can-do spirit. But now, it's time for Damon the Castform to let loose and show the world his power. That's right, baby. We're leading with Damon against the champion of the Pokemon League. Oh, we got that. Let's do it. All right, Damon. Here we go, buddy. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. It's fine, we take those. Okay, let's go, Damon. Let's do it. Go, Damon, go, Damon, go! No, Matt Damon! No, buddy! Buddy! Buddy, please! Matt Damon! No! He was so young. Oh. He had a citrus berry too. So if that first Psychic did literally 1 extra tick of HP, he would be alive. Let Damon's story serve as a reminder to everyone watching. Let it be a bucket of cold water to wake you from the pathetic daydream of a fair and just world. Life is hell. You're born on a dying planet filled with people that couldn't care less about you in circumstances you have no control over. As a child, you're told that you can be anything you want to be, that you can do whatever you set your mind to as long as you work hard. But the sad, sobering truth is that sometimes, no matter how hard you try, You just can't. Sometimes you're born a cast form in a world of Lunatones, and no amount of can-do attitude or aw shucks goodness can change that fact. Ted Lasso is a lie, Damon is dead, and the only thing we can do about it is to seek revenge. Coolidge comes out in place of Damon, and with a rain-boosted Surf, he gets the one shot on Lunatone. Relicanth comes in second, so I stay in with Coolidge and start firing off Surfs. Thanks to his Swift Swim ability, Relicanth outspeeds and can hit my bulky turtle with 2 double edges before going down. Third is Seviper, so I switch out to Dickinson on a resisted Crunch. Then an Earthquake gets the clean KO on the following turn. Fourth is Wailord, so I decide to stay in and nail the Blimp with an Earthquake to reduce the power of Water Spout. This lets Dickinson survive a non-critical hit, though Earthquake did way less damage than I was expecting. On the following turn, I switch to Affleck on a Hydro Pump. We can kill Wailord with a Thunderbolt, but I'm once again taking a little too much damage on all of my Charizard answers. Sceptile is Yankee's final Pokemon before the Scary Dragon, so I switch into Poe as Sceptile attempts to Detect. Another Detect prolongs the inevitable for one turn, but then a Flamethrower gets a clean one-shot. And just like that, Yankee's level 63 Charizard takes the field as his final Pokemon. Watching the Sandstorm chip damage here reveals that Yankee's ace is actually faster than Poe, which is especially problematic given that he lands a critical hit wing attack on the following turn, which cleanly sends Poe straight to Damon. And it's looking like he might not be the only one. Charizard is faster than my entire team, and with Affleck having already taken a good chunk of damage, my checks into this monster are dwindling fast. A Flamethrower comes out into Affleck, which thankfully doesn't crit or burn. This lets him nail Charizard with a Thunder Wave, which should hopefully give us the much needed speed advantage. But with Sandstorm Chip, if we miss out on the kill this next turn, a Blaze boosted Flamethrower will almost certainly KO in retaliation. But I've gotta risk Affleck's life to avenge Damon's death. A massive Thunderbolt comes out, but it's just barely not enough. And so, wait, Charizard gets fully paralyzed. Affleck lives! Sadly, though, it doesn't really matter because Charizard's Citrus Berry isn't enough to pull him out of healing range. So Yankee will use a full restore, which will cure Charizard's paralysis. Which means that on the next turn, I have to use Thunder Wave to regain the speed advantage. So, unless Charizard gets fully paralyzed again, Affleck will be joining his friends in the great beyond. But that's not a risk I'm willing to make. There's a better play here. I can switch to Dickinson, and as long as Charizard doesn't get a critical hit, she'll be able to survive a Flamethrower and hopefully connect with a Rock Slide for the one-shot. It's not the perfect play, but it's the only way to save Affleck's life. So Dickinson comes in, and Charizard goes for Slash, which means that Dickinson lives and fires off a quad-effective Rock Slide for a clean KO on the following turn, saving Affleck's life, avenging Damon's death, and winning us not just the battle, but the entire run. The funniest thing about this playthrough is that out of all the randomized threats, the biggest problem for me was my rival's unrandomized Charizard. None of the surprise why nots or the randomly exploding Pokemon got a single kill, but the one Pokemon that I knew to expect every single time somehow managed to get the only 3 kills of the entire run. But regardless, this challenge was a ton of fun, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I gotta give a huge shout out to Whacko who came up with the idea for this collaboration after we met up at PAX East. He's a great guy and you should absolutely go give his channel some love and check out his video covering the challenge from his perspective. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed watching, it'd be great if you could like the video and subscribe to the channel. Or don't, I don't know. But I do know that you should follow me on Twitter and Twitch to keep up with streams of my future ROM hack challenges. You should also subscribe to my highlights channel to get highlights of the challenge I'm currently streaming before it's cut down to a video on the main channel. And you should consider subscribing to my Patreon or becoming a channel member on YouTube, which are the best ways to directly support the channel. The links to everything are in the description below. Stay tuned for more Nuzlocke videos, and until then, remember to always, always, always play around the critical hit.